stage, Colin McFarlane! This here. Okay, hi, thank you. So my name's Colin, and I want to take you to the streets of Deli. We're starting off in a hot and bustling street in central Deli, full of tourists, full of people, full of restaurants and shops, very busy, typical afternoon in central Deli. And I'm walking down the street, and a man comes up to me and he says, can I clean your shoes? You've got shit on your shoes. So I look down at my shoe, and sure enough, there's a little dollop of poo balancing comfortably, as only poo can, on the toe of my shoe. And I think, how did that get there? Because it wasn't in the underside of my shoe or the side of my shoe, which is where poo normally is when you step on it. It was on the top of my shoe. So I thought, well, shit happens. Start the first joke. And laugh. And I paid the guy quite a lot of money. To clean this. It's poo after all, so fair enough. He charges a fair whack for that. But how did this happen? Was I sort of walking down the street and a dog did a poo, and I sort of caught it mid-stride, and the dog's like, "Where's my poo?" Seymour's jokes are funnier than mine. There's a confused dog telling me about Deli. He's done my set better than me, unfortunately. I'll just leave now. And so you've got a situation where I'm thinking, what's happened here? This is bizarre. Come back the next day, and the same thing happens again. So I think, well, something's a bit iffy here. It's not just the poo. What's going on here? It turns out this is quite a well-established scam. It's called the Deli poo shoe scam. It's quite well known. Obviously, I didn't know about it. It's got a long history, about 50, 60 years of recorded cases of tourists having poo on the toe of their shoe and not knowing how it happened. I like to think that perhaps there's snipers with some poo rifles on the top of buildings around central Delhi, sort of taking aim at unsuspecting tourists' feet and opening fire and radioing down to their colleagues on the ground who'll remove the poo and remove the cash. But no one really knows. But it's happened in different parts of India, it's happened in different parts of the world. And I think there's quite a nice politics to this, because if you think about it, half of the population of Delhi lacks access to any kind of toilet. Right? It doesn't have access to any kind of basic sanitation, half the population of the city. And that's true of a lot of India. Every single day in India, 72,000 tonnes of poo, 72,000 tonnes, excess poo is kind of like thrown out into the public spaces of India, right? It doesn't have a home to go to, it doesn't have a toilet to go to. That's a lot of poo lying around, making people ill. So what these guys do, the Deli poo shoe shooters, is they take this poo and they effectively aim it at something productive. They use it as a resource. They shit at the feet of tourists and make some cash out of it. And I think that's fair enough. There's a politics, there's a kind of justice to that. And this effectively is what I research. I study the politics of excess poo. Right? I'm interested in toilets and the lack of toilets. I'm a shit scientist. Well, I'm a geographer, right? I'm really interested in this, and I spend a lot of my time in Indian cities, especially in slums in India, asking people about, toilets and how they cope with a lack of toilets and all the poo that's lying around. How do you cope with all the poo lying around? And this can be quite awkward because people don't often want to talk about it, especially women. So I'm asking women, and obviously, as a 6.5-foot white Scotsman, sort of covered in sunblock, they might find it hard to relate to me and talk to me about intimate bodily practices. They find it hard to open up to me. There's a pun in there somewhere, I think. And so they do talk to me about it, and sometimes some women talk a lot about it. They're very confident in talking about sanitation, some people. So one group I just want to mention to you is a community organisation that's based in Delhi. It's a wonderful group of women, about 15 women, who took it upon themselves to raise awareness about sanitation in the neighbourhood in which they lived. So what they did was they built a large 2-storey toilet block right in the middle of the slum. It's a slum that had no toilets. And they painted this big toilet block white, and they called it the White House, because it too is full of shit. And upstairs in this toilet block, they had a community space, this wonderful community space, which they used to raise awareness about sanitation. And they did it all through the medium of song. I'd like to cue the music now. If there's no song, don't worry. So they used to sing about sanitation to people in the neighbourhood. And on one occasion, they had a different sort of health campaign, and he said to me, Colin, you've got to hear our latest song. So he took me upstairs to the community centre, and they burst impromptu into song about sanitation and the links to sexual health, which was all about how to apply contraception. And what this basically involved was them applying condoms to incongruously large wooden dildos. And me sort of standing there watching the scene while they sang to me, this kind of oversized sunburnt Scotsman. I'm standing there sort of smiling inanely as the song goes on with passion and music, increasingly reddening at this kind of, and all the while I'm thinking, what am I going to say to them when the song ends? And eventually the song does end, 4 of the most excruciating moments of my entire life, let alone my fieldwork. And they turn to me, their little expectant faces, I'm both touched and terrified by them. And they smile at me and, what do you think? And I say, well, thank you. I clap, the solitary clap of one person clapping. And I say, that was very nice. Which, coincidentally, is how I respond to any sexual encounter of any kind in my life. So some people really like talking about sanitation. Those women, you couldn't get them to stop talking about it. You couldn't get them to stop singing about it. But other people don't like talking about it. And I think this is a great shame, because when you think about it, sanitation, as Simo said, is a great leveller, right? Everybody does it. And it tells us a great deal about ourselves. We don't like to talk about it because it reminds us that we're creatures. We're creatures who produce horrible wastes that smell bad. But these wastes are vitally important for all of us, and it tells us something about ourselves if we only just get over it. So everybody in this room poos and pees. If you don't, there's a problem. And you'll produce about £1 of poo per day, and about 1.2 litres to flush it down into the sewer network of this fine city. So £1 of poo, which is about, what, 50, 60 pounds of poo in this room today, which we can all be very proud of. So, well done. And if you look at the human race more generally, right, we produce 400 million metric tons, 400 million metric tons of poo every year. That's a lot of poo, right? 27% of which is produced by Eric Pickles alone. It's a scientific fact, it's in Wikipedia. And so 400 million metric tons, right? And that's a lot of poo that disappears into toilets and sewers, and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes lies around neighbourhoods and slums and gets shot at tourists' feet. And I think we should all be more concerned about this, and I think we should all be talking more about this, because it's a vitally important issue for all of us. There's a whole sanitation crisis out there. But 400 million metric tons, right? The whole history of humanity is basically about how to get that pee and that poo away from us safely. That's what our history is really fundamentally about, more than anything else. And so it's central to us, and we don't talk about it. Yet, what's really odd is that when you think about it, we don't go more than 30 seconds without referring to poo and pee. In our conversation, we constantly express ourselves through human waste, right? The first thing that anybody says when something goes wrong, we heard it from Ellen earlier when she was talking about the Great Bacon phenomenon. The first thing you say is shit, right? Oh shit, what's happened? And then there's a whole bunch of other expressions, pissing yourself laughing, maybe not tonight. Piss artist, shit-faced, you're talking shit, you're shit hot. Shit hits the fan, up shit creek, paddle this, etc. You get the sense that, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of ways in which, human waste enters into our language. And then there's all the synonyms, so you've got shit and pee, and you've got poo and faeces and excrement and dung, ploppy, the England back four. My personal favourite, because it's Glaswegian, it sounds great, jobbies. Everyone's favourite. I love jobbies. Always wanted to say that on stage. Pee, whiz, piddle, whiddle, diddle, tiddle, and so on and so forth. So it seems like we can't get through more than 30 seconds conversation without referring to pee and poo, yet it's the one thing we can't talk about, and I think that's a great shame. And very odd. When you study it, you can't stop talking about it, as many of my friends will tell you. You find yourself on stage talking about it, and you see it everywhere. So you go into a shop and you see a bottle of something innocent, like a bottle of shampoo, and you think, hair product. I see shampoo and I think, fake jobbies. That's the best joke of the entire film. A little bit more than that, actually. I'm going to leave you with one last story, okay? One last story, and it's about, I'm very excited about this, because I'm about to start a new research project, and it's in Cape Town. And I'm studying a group that call themselves, rather wonderfully, I think, the poo protesters. The poo protesters. Now, what they do is they live in slums. These are social activists who've got fed up with the old apartheid-era toilets, where you have to poo into a bucket, and then when the bucket fills up, you throw the bucket into some area in the slum. Right? They're fed up with this because South Africa is a rich and wealthy country, and they've had enough. So they take that poo, and they literally throw it in the buckets at public buildings in South Africa, right in Cape Town. You know, the international airport, the African National Congress buildings. They throw it at these buildings to protest this sanitation inequality. So even when everyone else has been taken from them, even when they have no other form of political expression, they still have their poo to throw at people. Which brings me back to where I started, at the Deli shoe poo shooters, firing poo at people. I firmly believe that one day, millions of people lacking adequate sanitation, lacking adequate toilets across the world will rise up and arm themselves with rifles full of poo and take aim at the shiny shoes of politicians and elites everywhere. One day, I'm sure, the shit will finally hit the fan. Thank you.